Okay, we're live. Welcome to the LonelyFans Podcast. Tonight we're going over our top 3 cartoons from the 90s. We got your usual suspects. I'm your host, Carson Seacrest, Ryan Daly. You have Albie and a fun guy. And gentlemen, shall we kick it off? All right.
Kick it.
And as you can tell from our... Let's go ahead and
caffeine kicking in.
Get started. And
Facts,
there's
kids.
handsome gentlemen's right
I love
there.
that background.
Okay, so our top 3 cartoons from the 90s, and a fun guy will kick it off to us with Reboot.
Yes. So, love or hate this show, it subtly taught you about how a computer runs. In this case, a video game system, right? You got to see the inside, almost like I can't believe I forgot the movie Osmosis Jones, except a TV series. So the fact that it subtly gave you computer terms that were fun in an action show that you didn't know were used in hexadecimal, megabyte, things like that. And it's one of the first things people should think about when they think of CG cartoon series, because that's very early CG. When we look at it, it didn't age well.
I
Pixels
think
are the way to go.
Sorry.
Good.
Just saying, I think it was the earliest CGI TV show I can think of.
Yeah.
I think it was my first exposure to it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great concept for what they did. Let's take the inside of the computer, but make it an action show, sort of. The terms are all there. I said, okay, I like where this is going, and it kept me hooked. Like I watched at least 2 seasons of it, if not 3.
It was super futuristic. I remember this coming on ABC when I was a kid.
Yep.
But they had some dope action figures, actually. I know they made it of this red guy and this blue guy in the bottom right here.
Yeah.
And all of them, of course, but yeah.
Bob is the Guardian.
So this CGI kind of reminds me of one we'll see later on. So
warning, incoming game. Warning, incoming game.
Now, shall I move on to the next one, or you got anything else on Reboot?
Just remember, every time the game in came, and they have to win or it shuts down a part of the system, they have to beat the user. Like that was, I mean, come on, man. But keep going. You can go.
You sure?
Yep.
Actually, I was going to say this villain down here at the bottom with like the 5 spikes in her head looks kind of trippy.
Hexadecimal?
Is that her name?
That's the one in the red. So not the chick with the tank top with the red head, but the one with like the next to Megabyte.
Oh, that's the villain, right? The guy with the underbite.
He's the main one, and then it's her. She's worse.
All right. So give it up for Reboot.
They're related, I think.
Oh, they are?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I thought they were. Maybe not.
And number 2 was The Tick.
The Tick. So The Tick is one of those cartoon shows that was put on a kid's channel, definitely for adults, right? Like that's Beavis and Butthead, Daria, not really intended for young kids. I would say 13 and up could enjoy it because there's a lot of jokes, a lot of themes that only adults get or only kids that know their stuff get. You know what I'm saying? And it gave me the respect to be ready for shows like Archer and things like that, right? More so than Simpsons did. The Tick is really a really good adult animated show. But I guess it was a kid's show because they didn't do certain themes. I mean, look at Bruce Wayne right there, Deflator Mouse.
Is that what he is? That's his name?
Yes, man. They took tropes. Remember, he was a mascot for a Boston comic book, and they eventually made their own show. Everyone there is a trope of, looks like mostly DC Comics, right? You got the fake Wonder Woman. I forgot her name. Something about Maid. I forgot the sea urchin. That's Deflator Mouse. He's the Batman Bruce Wayne in the show. Tick makes fun of any Superman style character. He's basically invulnerable, like his unnecessary hero chin. Like, just watch it. Chip and Dale. Look at his face. Like Arthur is just the normal guy.
The
Like, hey, I'm a
sidekick.
sidekick. Yeah, Arthur's one of the best characters in the show. The voice acting is great. Just watch Tick now, right? I need
Yeah,
to see more of it.
I'll probably give that a watch before like the live action ones they did later
Yes.
on. But I should give the animated one a shot first.
His war cry, spoon, little wooden boy. Like it just timeless. Not timeless, but a classic, man. Underrated. Duck tweed, duck tweed out.
What's interesting is I remember this started on like Saturday morning cartoons, like for kids. But you're right.
I was like, yeah. When
Yeah,
I was watching it,
alongside with Power Rangers and all that.
yeah, when I was watching it, I go, just like Animaniacs, there's a lot of stuff that's going to go right over kids' heads, unless these kids were allowed to watch PG-13 and rated R films, not because of violence and nudity, but because of the themes. Like, just watch it. Just see what I'm talking about.
What's also weird, I wanted to note this. I remember Taco Bell tried to have a kick at doing a kids meal, and it was probably the only time I had Taco Bell, as a child.
Yeah.
Because I went like, oh, kids meal? Yeah, of course. And then I think the first lineup of Taco Bell kids meal toys was for the Tick, which is also kind of weird. Maybe they were trying to say something about that. Like, I'm like, oh, Taco Bell, that's really more of the grown-up fast food place. So let's, really put in toys that probably grown-ups appreciate more. And I think I got like a mini the Tick bust or something like it. It was like a plastic Tick bust. I think
Can we find those toys?
Possibly. They're probably not easy to find like McDonald's Happy Meal toys.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, if we could find it right now if you'd like, or do you want me to carry on?
No, we can do it. If we got time, we'll do it later.
Okay. I would say I had one of those toys from Taco Bell.
Ooh.
And I remember
I
remember very like precisely because I remember we rented Menace to Society and like we watched it that night, and I was like playing with my Tick toy and they were all watching the movie. But the Tick I got was it was like one of those balance toys where it's like it's a little pointy top, and he had two brick hands, and you put him on his chin and he's like floating around on it. It was pretty cool.
That was the one I wanted to get, but yeah, I never got around to that. So I'm jelly of your childhood.
I will say the animation style to this is similar to what we've seen from other action cartoons from the 90s, like Spider-Man, and then said ones later on. But yeah,
it's really good animation. If you look at it now, it holds up. And the funny thing is, it's up there with Batman. It's up there.
To your point, Fun Guy, they moved this to Comedy Central later on.
Told you, like
which I thought was like. It was funny because I was like, wasn't this on a kid's channel? And now
it's but it's such not highbrow, but it's a level of comedy that it's gonna. If we watch kids' reactions to that show, even now, most of them wouldn't get it unless they watch movies that are not rated for kids.
Yeah, it's to that same like demographic of like Daria or Aeon Flux or those other stuff.
Certain episodes of Beavis and Butthead.
Right.
The Critic. This now
I want to go watch the Tick just to see.
You should. You'll enjoy it now. Yeah. I enjoyed it back then. You'll enjoy it more now.
Tune in next week when we talk about now. But still a very underrated cartoon, and I think you hit it on it. Like it was ahead of its time for sure. It's something that you could rewatch again, even today's age, and still get a good kick out of it.
Correct. Because look at there, it's all the rage. I said Archer is famous now. Home movies, Bob's Burgers, Tick is right up there.
All right, and now we'll go to your number one, Mighty Mex.
Look at my hands. So, if you look at Mighty Mex, it's like everything wrong with 90s animation. I mean, look at it. It's not visually stunning. We know what it's not. But I will tell you this. Mighty Mex did the best ending episode that I've ever seen in a simple cartoon show. Because it allowed for a way to not make a new show and a way to show you reruns that make sense with the plot. I was like, bravo. the dynamic between the three main characters, Max, of course, Virgil, which is the fowl, not a chicken, a fowl, and I forgot the guy, the main protector, the guardian of the cat bearer. Can't believe I forgot his name. That's fine. We can Google it. Anyway, I haven't watched it in over 15 years, easy. And the enemy is, the main villain is voiced by, we'll see if I'm wrong, Tim Curry.
Really?
Cat bearer. Yeah, you can check it out right now.
Huh.
So it has great voice acting. All the jokes hit. It's 90s enough. It's edgy enough, but it doesn't lean on that. It's not like New Adventures of Johnny Quest, which I like. It's not too 90s, but it's quintessential 90s. It's a good cartoon show that sits in its genre and is the best reason for reruns. You can watch some. You'll see.
So, enlighten. So, I mean, because I remember Mighty Max from like the toys, like it's the boys' version of Polly Pocket.
Correct.
I had a feeling.
That's all I knew. What
was the show about?
So, supposedly, that cap he wears is important. It lets him travel through dimensions and time. And whoever holds that supposedly can rewrite time as they see fit, something like that. I could be very wrong. We have to wiki it. It's been over 25 years since I've watched. I think I watched it 15 years ago. Probably not. But something like that. Because you see in the opening trail, they bust through cabs. I'm not hearing the opening theme. Guitar riff. That's how it starts out. Just play it.
Most 90s themes, yeah.
Yeah, it's very 90s. Everything about it. Look at him. Look at what he's wearing.
Shout out to him wearing his first letter on his shirt and hat.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot who's that. Who's Max? The dude with the M on his shirt.
I think
I try to wear a red A on my chest.
Like Alvin, a yellow A?
Yeah. More like a scarlet.
The scarlet letter.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. There's another show that's very 90s I didn't mention, but it's called Fantastic Max. He's like a baby who's in outer space, and he runs like a. Don't worry about it. There's other cartoons I could have mentioned, but this one had to be mentioned because it's not as famous as like Dino Saucers, which was early 90s, late 80s. Bobby's World.
Bobby's World, yeah.
I love Bobby's World, yeah.
This is a show, yeah. Mighty Max is a show that most won't remember or didn't watch, but it begs to mention. Best reason for a rerun. Great voice acting. Very fun kid show that was non-violent but still good enough with the themes and the tone to keep me watching. And I didn't watch it as a kid. I watched it like as a teenager. And I was like, okay. I was like a preteen or beginning teenager. I wasn't that young.
Well, that's why I was like surprised you picked this as your number one. But like, how did it end to where you're like satisfied? Like this is how the ending.
Oh, because it tied in the entire show and made sense as the time reset. Like the last episode, I was like, oh, this is why I can watch a show again. This is why there's no other seasons, no other episodes need to be made. They wrapped it up with a nice bow. This is perfect. So I said, okay.
Not a cliffhanger.
I can spoil it for you, but I still remember the last episode. I go, oh, man, that's okay. You did good, guys. You did good. There's no questions asked. Anybody can understand that. There's no death threats to the writers. I don't know why you did that in the first place. It just doesn't seem like
for a kid show.
It sounds like
modern day Star Wars fans.
Beatings will continue to morale or story improves. Like what?
Yeah.
So, I mean, American comics can learn from Mighty Max. Either have a reason for a reset, or pass the legacy, pass the torch on, or finally kill your character. Mighty Max has a way of looping it all up very well. Most shows, there's not any other show I can tell you that looped it as well as Mighty Max. Looped a reason to rewatch the episodes the same to this day.
I'll have to check it out because I don't think I'm sure it's probably on, other. Yes. But I think this is quintessential 90s. Like
it is.
He's handing him a CD, and I'm wondering.
Like a CD.
He kind of looks.
Most kids don't know what that is.
He kind of looks like the Burger King guy. Remember the Burger King cartoons, like or the mascots?
I remember all of them. Yeah.
Wait, there were Burger King cartoons? Wait.
Not cartoons. I sorry, like in the commercials, they had like Burger King kids like mascots.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember them. I know what you're talking about. He looks just like
They took a more like
BK
kids
approach.
Yeah, they try to take a more cool kids approach than the clown and the grimace and the Hamburglar.
McDonald's stayed that way, and BK went all in on the 90s, rollerblades and neon.
They did.
The big kids meal.
What was it called? I forgot what that team was called.
I forgot what it was called. I just remember I had slightly more childhood memories on Burger King rather than at McDonald's. Maybe it was one because I lived in a military base and there was mostly a Burger King, but still, because of that advertisement, I think those advertisements stuck to me more than Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, I remember. It was definitely more trendy than. And who remembers Big Mac, the actual mascot named Big Mac from McDonald's?
Really?
Yes, Google it. He's a half moonhead, sunglasses, and a suit like Ray Charles.
Oh my god!
I vaguely remembered it. But it
didn't sell as well, but he was there for a minute. His name was Big Mac, I think. So that.
Either way, 90s had a trend with the kids on the hat backwards and all that.
Yes, they did.
It was cool. This was a solid and surprising number one pick, man.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see when you watch. You go, "Oh, Jameson, I get why you like the voice acting and Tim Curry and
I remember
and the head guardian. I forgot his name. Ivan? No, that's not his name.
For me, I think this came on UPN in the morning, either UPN or WB. It was one of those channels.
I think they moved it to one of those eventually. It was out before WB existed, I think.
Oh wow!
Okay. Yeah, it's old, man. Look at the year; it's old.
Okay, so that being said, thank you for sharing your top three. Anything else before we move on to Albie's top three?
No, I don't want to hold up, but if there's questions for me, let me know. There's plenty of other shows I could have picked, but there's reasons why I picked these.
Well, we can always revisit this topic again.
That's true.
There's a plethora of it's like our next three top cartoons.
Easily. There's so many, man.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Albie, getting started with Rocko.
Right. So I felt like I had to pick a Nicktoon show because that was the basis of my childhood when it comes to like TV when it comes to animation. Because we didn't have a Disney Channel at that time, so I wasn't really watching anything on that. And and then there was Fox Kids, but I think when I think Fox Kids, I thought more about Power Rangers and all that. So I watched a lot of like Nickelodeon. Maybe I was like fascinated to see like, a child's view of adult life, and that was pretty much Rocko's modern life. Like I felt like watching it gave me exposure of what adult life is probably going to be like, and
it helped me.
Now that I'm an adult, I look back and go like, yeah, that's my life. Well, I'm an awkward single dude. Fortunately, I don't have my own dog, but I kind of look at every time I think about sleep deprivation, I think about the episode where Rocko, had trouble getting to sleep because he had to work really late at the comic book shop, correcting all like I don't know if it was correcting the flyers or it was, but he had to put in an extra whisker on every single copy. And then when he's leaving the comic book shop, he's going to sleep. And then the parking meters turn into start to grow faces and they all go sleep. So every time I'm sleep deprived, I think exactly like that. And then when it comes to dealing with handling your crush and everything, like Rocko falling in love with the male lady, or when Heifer had to bring his new girlfriend to meet his family, which he was adopted by a bunch of wolves, but he was bringing in another I forgot, she wasn't she was some sort of deer or something. Which, those are extreme cases, but you can think about, this is what it's like. Bring in, bringing in like your potential significant other to like your, strange family. So yeah, all sorts of different things. And Netflix, I think, did a sort of like a sequel to how Rocko would, how he would reflect like current life, with smartphones, Starbucks. Like they delve into all of that.
I gotta see.
Oh, not to mention my favorite storyline is always with the big heads, also big heads. Their son writes one of their like favorite like cartoons, so they do a lot of like interesting stories with that. Yeah, just all things. So yeah, I think out of all the Nicktoons, like there was Rugrats, there was like I remember Angry Beavers, Doug, but Rocko's Modern Life like stood out to me the most. So yeah.
Was Big Heads these green people in the corner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're frogs.
Was there an episode where Rocko took out their daughter on a date? I feel like I've only seen a few episodes because I didn't have cable growing up, but I remember when I'd go to my uncle's house, like I did watch this when it come on, but it would usually be at night.
I don't remember that one. I wish I did because that sounds like a funny.
You could be right. So
episode.
I have a lot to say about Rocko, but I'll keep it short. I'm literally watching our time.
No. Go ahead, man.
Rocko's Modern Life gave me, like Albie has said, a really clear window of what to expect at what age if your life was somewhat normal. I don't think Albie's an awkward single guy. I think he's a single guy, but I don't think he's awkward. But Rocko just made it's like, hey, you're going to have bills. You're going to have stress. You're going to have people in your life that aren't your family. You're going to have work of some sort.
When Rocko got his credit card, yeah. And then I remember watching that resync, like, crap. Should have
watched this again. It's a great way of going, hey, instead of having an educating show, we're going to show this anthropomorphic actual life in the 90s for a single guy with a dog who works at a comic store. I'm glad he can afford to work at a comic store.
Right, has a single family house.
That's the fantasy part. You work at a comic store and have a single family horse. Right. And that was the fantasy. That was the fiction. That part was fiction. The rest is just humanity. I was like, how the heck is he affording this house? I wanted that as a kid. I'm like, does he own the comic store? No. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know how I can afford this house. I didn't care. I was like, I don't need to know.
Not to sound corny, but through all his struggles, it does show like the most consistent thing was his like weird ass friends. Had his like, as I said, like Heifer, the steer adopted by wolves, and then there was like
what's his name? The turtle?
Awkward. Phil. Like,
Phil.
Turn
the page. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Turn the page. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
He had a good episode where he was like really good at like singing, like sort of like a Dean Martin type thing, and like that was an entertaining episode. Wash your hands. Wow, but good stuff.
He has OCD and some other stuff. It just showed real life problems adults have. They can't really talk about. Made it funny. Made them animals.
I need to check this out because I be honest,
you gotta watch it, man.
I haven't watched. I only watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes.
Modern Life. Rocko's Modern Life.
Yeah, catchy theme song too.
Yeah, I was like, yep.
So if you're Rocko, which one of us is Heifer and Phil?
I want to be Phil just because I don't want anybody else to be Phil, so I'll be Phil.
Oh man,
okay.
All right,
do you want to be Phil? You don't want to be Phil, man. Phil is like afraid of himself. He's not gonna. Oh boy, I hope he is smart, but oh boy,
hey, out of all of them, he's the one that has the most like long-term relationship with the dentist that has a hook. They even have kids, which there was like an interesting thing right there where he laid an egg, I think, and then it hatched. Like it was super ridiculous, but it was hilarious.
It shows one type of relationship.
For some reason, he had like 4 kids. It was like turtles and whatever the cat person was, but one of them looked like Heifer with glasses. So that was like,
it does a lot of like the show. Yeah. It goes over kids' heads. It's another show that goes over kids' heads.
I also think it was a better balance because there was Ren and Stimpy, which was an animated show, but I think it went way on the adult end. Like way more on
Ren and Stimpy was not for kids, in my opinion.
So, and quite frankly, it didn't appease to me. I remember seeing it, and even to me, it just felt a bit much. I wasn't really laughing. I was more like, wow.
Horrified?
Well, Rocko was a better balance, you know. Probably because it also, you know, each episode, it still had a better, like, streamlined story and all that.
Yes.
While Ren and Stimpy was just more wacky and out there. I'm not knocking it. There is a creativity to Ren and Stimpy. It's just Rocko's Modern Life was, like, more my speed. And
Ren and Stimpy took insanity and tension and then just strung it and made a show. Like, I'm watching documentaries on it. It's great. I knew what it was. I thought, I'm used to liquid television. Ren and Stimpy was on liquid television, Beavis and Butthead, I think. I get this. I get it. But, Powdered Toast Man.
Right. Well, Rocko's Modern Life had a really, really big man. It was literally this really, really big man, and his powers were actually in his nipples a lot, which is kind of weird. Gosh. But it was.
They did.
It's good stuff.
Really, really big man.
Yeah.
All right, we shall move on. If you're cool with that, to your number 2.
Yeah. Let's get to number 2.
This one, I can say I watched.
Like, and part of this is probably more of an appreciation now than I did more. I mean, I definitely loved it as a kid, but I definitely wanted to come back to this because there was so much Batman content out there. And some of that Batman content is amazing. Some of it's good. Some of it I can see that they're going somewhere with it. It doesn't quite land. But Batman the Animated Series was probably the most perfect.
Amazing.
Out of all of it. I mean, it was an animated show which could entertain kids, but I feel like an adult
could easily watch
appreciate it. Bruce Wayne was probably at his most like stoic.
Yes.
Joker being voiced by the great Mark Hamill. Probably I would probably say my favorite Joker of all time.
He's my favorite Joker of all time.
Yeah,
someone's going to say Heath Ledger. I'm like, nope.
Next to Heath Ledger. I mean, Heath Ledger was great, and I'm glad Heath Ledger did what he did. But if I always think Joker, I'll think Mark Hamill's Joker. Yeah. But it also brought in all the other villains like very well. I felt like it delved in deep into both Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent's relationship a lot, which is actually why I'm glad you picked the Two-Face image. Pac-Man, because I felt like some of those episodes dealing with that was like some of the best I've seen. It showcased Batgirl way before Batman and Robin did with Alicia Silverstone.
Don't talk about that.
And had more Robin that we did. An interesting relationship with them. But all sorts of like other villains. It was my first introduction to like Clayface, which he was an interesting villain. It was my first introduction to Bane, which actually, honestly, as much as I love Tom Hardy, that might be the best like depiction of Bane I've seen.
I was wondering what would break for us.
I mean, the problem, I liked what they did with Nolan's Bane until I found out he was just a patsy, a henchman for Talia. I was like, can someone, if they're going to show Bane, Bane's his own man. Like, you don't have to read where Batman got his back broken or why, but at least know that Bane is not a henchman.
Yeah.
He's also not dumb.
Yeah, true.
The episode with Bane did that the most, as far as, I mean, I know they came out with a lot of animated like content later, but I'm talking about like at least during like mainstream, that's the one that had that the most, like the probably almost perfect depiction of Bane. And it was a kid's show, but it still did that pretty well. I even remember watching Batman and Robin and not being convinced by the, Bane being like Poison Ivy's like side
lackey.
I was like, no, this is not the Bane that I saw in, this is not the ruthless Bane that I saw in the animated series.
Hashtag not my Bane.
That was Before we go on, I can't put the comment up here because I'm in full screen, But Young Jin Chu says best Batman and Joker ever. I do agree. I don't think you'll find anyone. True DC fans, I think, will agree with you that Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are the best.
They only had their voice to act with. Young Jin knows. They only had their voice for years.
And they used them again in the Arkham video game series. So that means a lot.
Yeah, think about that. That's how great their portrayals were, that they keep bringing them back decades later to reprise their role. But I was looking through the IMDb. Ron Perlman voiced Clayface.
What?
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Now I can hear it. What's Clayface's actor's name? Before he got the Daggett skin cream?
Matt Hagen.
Look at you, Hagen. Yes.
That was probably one of the best episodes and probably one of the darkest.
Yeah.
And then
with Clayface,
yeah, because it's pretty sad. And then so was the Harvey Dent one, because I was rewatching this last year, and his was like a slow build. Like they introduced Harvey Dent early in the series to bring on Poison Ivy, and then you slowly see Harvey Dent start losing his cool. Like when a criminal, I think he spat on him, he got a criminal arrested, and you could see him lose it and just go up, and freak out. And I was like, oh crap. I was upset. Okay.
No, keep going. No.
I was upset when they redid the animation style to match the Kids WB Superman and that type of animation, because I
remember that.
Yeah, I preferred this type of noir over that one.
That's probably when I started. That's probably why the Superman show didn't do it for me, because I was so used to the noir type of Batman. So it kind of took me out of it. And
I watched it, but it's not the same caliber. It's not bad at all.
It's definitely not.
It was too much of a contrast. So
I'm all about Lex Luthor, so there's no way I can
he said, laugh my ass off. It feels when you say my full first name. I'm glad we could say your full first name.
Young Jinju.
But this is definitely... I would have had this on my list, but I didn't want to have repeating ones. But this is one of the reasons why I signed on for the DC Universe app back when they still had it.
And this music, though, I can see the opening.
Yeah.
Burn, burn, burn,
it's still the best. I think usually when I think Batman, I think that theme song the most.
Dun, dun, dun,
you know,
dun, dun, dun. I'm about to do the punch. Ready?
Go ahead.
See it? You saw it. Punches all three out. Throws the batarang. They knocks the guns out their hands.
The lightning bolt at the end.
Yep.
Yep.
I am the Knight. I am Batman.
And
people forget that Batman's actually insane. He's not. He cracked when his parents died. He's eccentric because he's rich, but he's insane, and it's tights.
Yeah.
There's because I had a couple of VHS tapes. If you want to feel real old, do y'all remember the Warner Brothers store?
Ooh, yes, I do. Store? I vaguely do. Yes.
I must not have been in the.
I bought a VHS tape of one of these shows, and it was the one where Batman goes to the crazy house, but it was because of Scarecrow poisoning poisoning the air, so he got Batman going crazy. So he actually ended up in asylum. It was a pretty good episode.
Where he belongs. Different story.
I feel like this animation series really kicked off the DC animated series. I know there was ones prior, like the Super Friends.
Definitely.
But this success definitely propelled.
Oh, you mean the 70s Super Friends?
Yeah, I know there's some. Well, this one I think really propelled it, though.
It did. It made animation a big deal, and it changed TV. Like this show had an impact on Spawn, the animated series, which I love from HBO.
Oh, that's right.
And Batman didn't come out because he wanted Spawn. If you look at Tom McFarlane's interview, they wanted Spawn to be like a Saturday morning cartoon, he said, with a dog. I'm like, what the heck is Spawn going to do with a sidekick dog on Saturday? No way.
Well, I think this also set the precedent of other popular DC anime shows. I remember how we talked about how the animation changed too much to appease to the Superman animated show. But when they did the Justice League animated show, they went more towards the darker aspect of it. Yes, and a lot of people would be talking about the Justice League animated show,
which was great. But this preceded it. It's the same timeline, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I wouldn't be surprised.
I thought it was.
It did, but
I did like how they went back to his classic dark blue outfit as opposed to just the plain black one that he had in the animated series.
Right.
Young Jin Chu says Albie is a man of class and culture for picking Batman. Hey man, we all would have picked Batman.
We can only pick it once, so we let Albie do
I'm
it.
sorry.
I'm kidding. He is like Rocko, but with class.
Yes.
Now, having said all this, how are you going to top number 2, man?
I'll admit it might be hard, but I think I have my reasons for picking number 1.
Good. Let's go to number 1. As much as I want to spend the whole podcast on Batman, because we can.
We would. We shall.
We're going to have a lot of opportunities to
do Batman
There's
again.
Be more Batman content coming out. We're going to be comparing it to this always.
We have the Beast Wars.
So,
hands for Batman too. Like just, oh man. Okay, back to Beast Wars.
Here's Beast Wars.
Here's what came down to trying to pick my number up. I was trying to think about the last animated show that I was like really into until I pretty much moved away from the US. I moved to Japan on a military base where had went from having like 30 channels down to just 5. So content wasn't as much as I was used to. And then the stuff that I was exposed to in the US, I didn't really see as much in Japan, or at least on TV. But there were 2 shows that I remember being obsessed with before, moving to Japan and getting into middle school. And it was the Mighty Ducks animated show, which I tried to rewatch recently, and I'll give it a chance, but it wasn't something that really grabbed my attention. I wasn't really going from episode to episode because I did recognize it was kind of a ridiculous plot to begin with. But then I remember really being into Beast Wars, and then watching it recently, despite the really rough CGI, at least in the beginning, because the CGI gets better as it progresses, I was still hooked because one, and JBC can understand it had really good voice acting. Everyone played the role pretty well. And 2, it had an interesting story. I mean, I don't know much about the original Transformers, but it's interesting to see these I guess robots get stranded into a planet that they're not used to, and then having to 1, survive, and 2, adapt to their new form as these animals. I probably have more questions than an adult should for a kid show, but in the end I was still entertained by it. Each episode had a fun sequence, good action sequences for 90s CGI, but in the end it was all about the characters. For example, I probably didn't appreciate it as a kid, but I remember, I do like Rat Trap a lot. It might be the boringest animal, but the character Rat Trap itself, it's more than just the comic relief. He's a good marksman. He knows how to set traps and everything. He's a good demolition man. So it was entertaining. And it's also entertaining to see him riff off the other characters, mostly Dinobot, who's an interesting character, but also even though Optimus Prime was the leader, he's not afraid to speak his mind when it comes to that. But then also I think Cheetah was my favorite as a kid, but then I got him to just being the youngin of the group and just having a big head. But I remember Rhinox being the most essential of the group, probably the smartest, but probably not confident enough to be a leader, but he probably could if he tried. And then Tigertron probably being the baddest because he's more he's a tiger, but he's more a lone wolf type person. Also, the character design is pretty cool. It's a tiger, but when he transform into the robot, I kind of like the green color scheme and all that. But yeah, and not to mention the Predacons are from Megatron, is a pretty good villain, and also I haven't opened a rug, but Black Widow is an interesting villain because she's one that really gets the story going along because of her What's the word?
She turned from just like Dinobot. Yeah.
Yeah, she turns probably much later, but more like she kind of flirts with it. You know, she's really like looking out for herself and all that. So you don't know who she's going to betray. You know, but you know, it's entertaining to watch her. But yeah,
I didn't want to interrupt, but I would say this first Young Jin Chu says, yes, I own like 20 different toys from this show, as did I. The thing with this show is like I know people have their definitive Transformers being, you know, the original.
Yeah.
This to me was mine. So like,
yeah,
this one holds a very special place. Like I agree with everything you said, and the episodes went along with the continuation. It wasn't like the same formulaic episode. Everything else was different per each episode.
Right.
And I will say that they had some of the best storytelling despite its reboot like graphics in the beginning.
Right.
But
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's like the characters had to develop. Like that's the thing. Like there was like a story of like characters and all that. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it was a show that wasn't afraid to kill off characters. They somehow brought it back. Like for example, Tigertron, and I didn't realize it till I saw the picture now. Like air razors all over Optimus's leg. They both die, and then they fuse together to make Tigerhawk, and that was insane.
Oh, that's right. And then I remember it was pretty heavy when Dinobot died.
Yeah, he was
like to a point where,
no,
he was your favorite.
Yeah.
And it was pretty touching when he died. I remember feeling touched because even Rat Trap, you know, they were always riffing off each other, but Rat Trap was the one that was like, you know, if robots could cry, you can almost see Rat Trap cry, and then he gave him like a final salute as then we gave his last breath. But it got heavy for a kids show too.
Yeah, it did.
If robots could bleed, I mean, I feel like it'd be a bloodbath.
Beast Wars.
When they lose their Allspark like that, or their Spark, sorry, that's why I put that specific photo in the middle, because when that episode happened, I was like, okay, that's them tying it with the old generation when he took Optimus Prime's Spark. And he became that big ass
Optimus Primal.
Yeah, Transmetal, Optimal Optimus Primal.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Rewatching it, I'm at when they first became like Transmetal. And I was almost, for some reason, even though I remember thinking it was really cool as a kid, I almost recently feeling turned off by the Transmetal part, because I really liked the design of like, you know, the actual animals and stuff. So when it came to when we're Transmetal and they're started more like completely like robots, I was almost turned off it. But then they had this really cool sequence where it played out more like a Western, where, you know, when it really just came down to like Rat Trap, Cheetor, Rhino, and like Dinobot, and then the rest was like all these Predacons surrounding them. It played out like an old school Western, like you would see in like Magnificent Seven or like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and they even played the Western type music in the background. And I was like, holy shit, this is badass. And then of course you thought Optimus Primal's dead, but then he comes back to life and just like, you know, saves their lives and kicks ass. Yeah, surfing gorilla. I was like, yeah, that part's ridiculous, but still, the voice acting carried it, and it was like he was like, well, that's just Prime, and then comes in and like, you know,
the catchphrase. I'd say it, but I also made fun of it when I said it.
Well, yeah. It was a corny line, but I was entertained every time he said that. He said it, you know, in such, sometimes he'll say it with intensity, or sometimes he'll say it just casual,
like sarcasm.
That's just Prime. Yeah, like sarcasm. But that was cool. So I still got more episodes to watch, and I know it goes through a lot of changes later, but still. You really got to give some props.
I forgot how small they were compared to the original Transformers everybody knows about.
Yeah.
James, or fun guy, my bad. Do you remember this fondly, or did you have any like did you watch this when it first aired, or was it kind of one of those?
Yes. So Beast Wars, I definitely remember the taking the Allspark episode, but that was big because I obviously watched Transformers, the original, because it's the same Earth, same timeline, except the Beast Wars people were awake before Optimus Prime and them woke up. That's when this takes place. That's why Optimus Prime's body's sitting there, because they're not active yet or some jazz. I think, right?
Yeah.
Or was this after Earth was done?
It's hard to remember. I want to say it's before.
Yeah, it's prehistoric Earth, so they're not activated yet.
Yeah, because there's still cavemen there, like Neanderthals, that help fight later on.
Yeah. And then Optimus Prime and them are all there, but they're not activated.
Someone, were you a fan of the 80s Transformers, like the OG?
That I saw, yeah, but Beast Wars, I was old enough to pay attention to the story and go, Beast Wars. That's the theme song I keep doing. Part of it. I just watch it. Yeah. But it's a good show. It kept me captivated. It had its own spin. I did not go, man, this didn't happen in the original show. It wasn't about that. I wasn't that stickler. I said, no. Because it wasn't trying to give you the same experience. It's like, hey, this is prehistoric. This happened before these guys woke up. Deal with it. And we're here for money because we're American. Well, not because we're American, but because we're here for money. But you know what I'm saying.
They're probably giving CGI another try, because the show you talked about, Fun Guy, was Reboot. And that was like the earliest I can think of as far as doing CGI. And Beast Wars was a little bit later than that. And but
I wish it wasn't CGI, but
I did think about that a lot. I went some of the action sequences could have been way more intense if it was like traditionally animated. I'll admit that. But I guess during that time, I guess it was worth a shot.
Why not? Right?
I guess we'll see if they'll do it justice with the next Transformers movie, because the next Transformers movie is called Transformers Rise of the Beast, and it is supposed to tie into Beast Wars. But, I mean, we'll see if it's... I don't know. It's supposed to have both Transformers and Beast Wars, because if at least according to IMDb, the guy who voiced Optimus Prime's going to be there, and it looks like they're bringing Ron Perlman. At least this is what IMDb says. It looks like they're bringing Ron Perlman to voice Optimus Primal, which I like how we talked about Ron Perlman voicing Clay in Face before, and now I think that's interesting casting, using Ron Perlman.
I would suggest, I don't know if you've seen it yet, the Netflix one, The War for Cybertron. It's okay. It's not. I liked it a lot, because you get to see the Beast Wars interact with the old school Transformers.
Oh, okay.
And
that's why I should watch it.
Yeah,
I definitely will give that a watch after
There was a lot of character development in the series. Like, talking about Cheetor. Like, if you watch, I mean, you're gonna watch later on. If you watch his story arc throughout the series, you see him mature. And then I don't know if you saw Beast Machines. I was a little lukewarm towards that series, but you see him grow even more there.
I heard about that. Yeah, I never. This is kind of the whole me moving around a lot. Like when I moved to Japan, they didn't really show Beast Wars there, so I didn't really know what happened later on after Transmetal. And then by the time I moved to Australia, I think Beast Machines was a thing, but I was in high school and I was way too cool for cartoons. I never, I was way, but I did remember hearing about Cheetor like becoming like more of a leadership type figure, which I was like, what? He was like,
I didn't watch it that far.
You didn't watch? Oh man,
I saw some of Beast Machines, but I can't tell you everything about it.
You want me to? Well, I don't want to spoil it now.
Yeah, you have to spoil it, because I want it. Spoiler time.
So, are you cool with it, Albie? Yeah,
it's fine.
So essentially, Rhinox turns bad. So it's like what a huge 180.
Yeah.
He turns bad. It's a lot of things that's like, it's sad when you see how him and Optimus interact, when he tells him like, I have a new goal, a new vision. Yeah, it's pretty sad.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Man, damn. I did also hear like Black Widow became more of a maximum Beast Machine. Like, Or let's say, So, wow.
The reason why that series turned me off was like, I didn't like the styles of the Maximals. They just looked weird to me. You know what I mean? They didn't look
right,
and they use different CGI too.
Okay, yeah, that's something I'll probably look out for, because I did notice like a development of like change in design, but I didn't focus on it because in high school I was too cool for cartoons, I think.
I know. On a side note, I also had a lot of toys from this line. The thing of this, I didn't get into it till it was on syndication, till it played like every single day. So I remember like I was to the second to last episode, and I remember we had to go to a family event, and I'm like, are we going to go back home? Because there's no YouTube or anything to watch this on.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, no, we have to go to this. And I'm like I had to wait a whole, 50 episodes again just to catch the ending. Because
I remember those days.
So bad. Because
was the family event worth it?
Yeah. Then I feel bad. I don't want to talk but yeah, I just remember because I was like, man, because it jumped right into Beast Machines. I'm like, well, what happened to Dinobot, Silverbolt, all these guys? And I missed it. So I was like, damn it.
Oh my gosh, I remember those days.
And you had no TiVo. You couldn't just go grab a VCR to record.
Yeah, and I like called my friend. I was like, hey, what happened in the last episode? He's like, I didn't catch it either. I'm like, damn it.
No.
Gosh. Well, you know what's funny? Maybe that also had to do with me not getting into, because I think shortly before, when Beast Machine was out, I think I gave away, I was okay with my mother giving away most of my toys. So
what?
That included because I had both. I have a couple, but the ones I remember the most, I had both Megatron and Optimus Primal, which. Those are I remember looking back, those were probably the coolest toys I had because they're super decked up. And not only transfer, but they had all these gadgets. Oh, heck yeah. I was surprised that they still sold that.
Yeah.
But, it was decked up. It shot missiles. It had all sorts of different weapons and stuff. Yeah, it was probably how Andy felt when, he first got Buzz Lightyear. Optimus Prime was my Buzz Lightyear. I don't know who.
It's kind of sad. Not sad, but it's funny, as an adult. I'm like, man, why do they keep changing suits? Only to find out its main thing is to sell toys. And it's it makes sense.
Oh, it's true. Yeah. I mean, and this was clearly toys. They probably thought more about selling toys, but for a cash grab like that, I thought the story was still thought out. Compared to other action shows, other than Batman the Animated Series, I mean there wasn't a lot of options. So yeah,
this was a solid number one. So
glad we enjoyed it.
Yeah. We can delve in more, but I know it's getting a little late here, gents, so I will breeze through my top three.
Don't breeze. We're gonna delve into yours too.
Nice.
Well, thank you for sharing your list as well, Albie. To get mine started, we'll start with Rekkus, aka Recess. I
wasn't ready for
that. That's something that plays in the show actually. There's a episode where they take away recess, and this school board's we thought of an idea. It's called Rekkus, and it's it's really stupid. But I like this show mainly because it tackled a lot of things as a kid, like popularity, school bullies, cliques, being the new kid, being the transfer. You know what I mean? The nerd, the jock, the bully. And the funny thing about this show is you can watch some of it now on Disney Plus, and some of it's still pretty relevant and funny. This picture I have in the bottom right is they give people scores based on their popularity and looks. So they're walking around with 10s, and Mikey and Gus, who are the nerd, and the fat kid, were given 3s and 2s. It's just really interesting social experiment they had, and it was pretty funny. You had the 5th graders bullying the 4th graders, and it was a good time. And I remember this playing on after school when I was supposed to do my homework, and I ended up just watching this. But.
Good choice.
I did see a couple of episodes of this, and I did remember them being entertaining and well thought out and whatnot. I just never got around to watching episodes consistently though.
Yeah.
I think the only episode that I really remember was the big kid. Apparently, they found out that he can sing really well if he's in the bathroom.
Mikey, yeah.
Yeah, and then he fell in love with his, his tutor, and I was like, oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
Fun fact about that: the man who voiced his singing voice was Mr. Robert Goulet.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I mean, this was like a staple for Disney's One Saturday Morning, and then UPN adopted it and called it Disney's 1-2, and this was like one of their main shows, like carrying that program or carrying that block. Yeah, it's pretty, but they tackled other stuff like popular fads. Like they had this episode called Mon Stickers, were supposed to be like equivalent of like Pokemon cards, and instead of paying for stuff, you would pay currency through like collectibles, which is funny because that's how it is now in modern day. But yeah.
Right.
Fun guy. Did you watch any Eureka's or not?
Not enough to comment. I did catch a few episodes. I've probably seen, how many seasons is it? 3?
Yeah, about 3, I think.
I may have seen 5 or 10 spread through 3 seasons. Before when I saw, I liked it.
Cool. All right, so now we shall delve into number 2, which is Extreme Ghostbusters. This is one of those things that aired on UPN in the morning. And this thing, it was cool because, in my opinion, it was ahead of its time, mainly because it brought diversity to like an established franchise without forcing it, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
They found a way to organically bring in like all these new characters while still keeping the old vintage, like Egon. So basically how it takes place is the Ghostbusters are retired. Egon is still running the shop, and these people stumble upon it, and essentially you have the new Extreme Ghostbusters. And this was one of the first ever like times I've ever seen like a crossover, because I'm a huge fan of crossover films or shows. And on the bottom left, the old team actually reunites with the new team, and they do like a crossover, and like they basically come out of retirement and help battle some of the ghosts. They still keep favorites on there like Slimer, and Egon was one of them.
We did.
Yeah. The animation style is like equivalent to, I don't know if you guys seen Men in Black, the cartoon.
Love Men in Black.
Yeah, I would say it's similar to that and like the Jackie Chan adventures kind of. But yeah, it only lasted, I think, 1 season.
I think I've heard of it, but I didn't like watch it. I think I watched the previous Ghostbusters cartoon. I remember that being entertaining, but I wish I caught this one, because from how you're describing it, it sounds like really cool. So maybe that's one I'll give a watch. Maybe I'll give it a watch before the next movie comes out.
It had a badass intro. Just real quick, though, I wish I could bring this chat up, but I'm in full screen right now. But Christopher, aka Topher, has given us his top 3. He said SWAT Cats, Roughnecks, Dragon Ball Z, honorable mentions, Gargoyles, and Street Sharks. That is a perfect one, my friend. Next time we do another one of these, feel free to come on. We'll definitely share yours as well. He said Ghostbusters was great. Godzilla.
I'm going to say this now since he's watching with Young.
Yeah.
Gargoyles needs awards. Like, man, no, I'm not gonna.
I kind of feel bad that like none of us, we forgot about Gargoyles. That was actually
I wanted to put it on there because I love it, but I didn't watch enough that I regretfully. It's amazing.
I regretfully didn't get into it. I don't know why, but after everything we talked about, like why Batman the Animated Series was good, why Gargoyles was good, I feel like Gargoyles definitely fits that bill. So
Topher, we had Reboot on here. It was Jameson's 3rd. Man, shout out to him for
SWAT Cats though.
Yeah, SWAT Cats, some bangers. Street Sharks.
SWAT Cats was pretty cool.
Street Sharks was fun, but not up there with SWAT Cats and Gargoyles for quality.
SWAT Cats is better than Top Gun.
It is. SWAT Cats did Top Gun better than Top Gun and did 80s. Remember Airwolf? Way back, we were young as heck. It did the 80s quintessential buddy cop Top Gun thing well. Right. They have no powers. They're just good engineers, good pilots. And they're
they got
like
fired
superheroes.
from the police force, or then they became junkyards, and we'll make our own jet, and they built their base like under a dumpster. I go, no SWAT Cats. No, that's a good show. And they had some crazy villains too. Some really crazy villains.
Yeah, I think he agrees with you on that Top Gun comment. He said, "Hell yeah, Albie."
Like it's. Bro.
I will bring up if I get a chance once we get done with this, I'll bring up the chats because that's funny. Yeah, shout out to him. He said Godzilla was made in similar fashion. Also love MIB. So wait, what was Roughnecks? He had that number 2.
Roughnecks, the spinoff TV series, which is really, 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 really good, off of Starship Troopers.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, really?
Roughnecks, watch it, man. It's worth your time.
That reminds me of another one.
I'm so glad he brought that up. I got to give him props in real life now. Like, Roughnecks.
We'll look it up here. Let's get after this one. Let me just go through. He said Starship. Okay, got it. He said very good.
Yeah, Starship Troopers, Roughnecks, Rico's Roughnecks.
All right. And my number 1. Sorry, I didn't mean to just like breeze through Extreme Ghostbusters. I think a lot of things, like it was DOA, just because I think at the time there had been no Ghostbusters movies. Like it had been years. Toy sales were very poor because I remember these got clearance at KB Toys. And then the channel
KB Toys.
Yeah, and the channel was like, and the time slot was DOA. But my number 1, and I think a lot of us will agree, X-Men, the animated series.
No arguments here.
In my opinion, another show ahead of its time, dealing with diversity.
Serious stuff.
Yeah. The bottom, you see them say, do you know what your children are? The No More Mutants. I specifically highlighted the episode with Nightcrawler because that one was probably one of their best episodes. And then you could see like the litany of people that appeared throughout the series. You got Deadpool, Havoc, you have Sunfire, Magneto, Bishop, Archangel. Yeah, just the key list keeps going on and on. They had the Star.
Yeah, Deadpool appeared in the Wolverine flashback.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He said opening for X-Men will live on forever. Yeah, it had a banger for an
I believe.
I'll stop.
I remember this being like chilling as a kid too. Like even I was watching it, and I was like, feeling sad.
I'm still doing it, by the way.
There were episodes that actually a lot of episodes didn't even have like happy endings. It was like pretty grim at times, especially like Wolverine storyline. I remember
when he fought Alpha Flight.
Yeah, Vindicator.
That fight scene's still in my head.
Dude, there was an episode where Rogue's high school or childhood sweetheart, like, he ended up like turning into a monster. No, he ended up turning into a monster because he wanted to be with her. Like, and he turned it. Yeah, it's a sad ending because there was no happy ending to it. Like, he ended up turning.
I love that though.
Yeah,
I love that.
It was very.
The Morlocks episodes were awesome.
The Morlocks Christmas.
No, the Morlock episodes when they first found about them.
Oh, yeah.
You're covered in scorpions. You're covered in. Oh no, I'm covered in scorpions. Wolverine.
Man, I think in a lot of ways, the credits to Jim Lee though for starting the animation style of the X-Men like this, as opposed to what we saw prior.
Before he went and joined Image with the other guys, so they can own their own work.
Right. And then Topher says Wolverine saying "bub." Yeah,
Bub. Tell Cyclops to let him a convertible.
Yeah. And then they made the most famous Wolverine meme where he's looking at the picture.
All right.
Wait.
Still used.
Dude, there's so many like.
Do I remember that?
You don't remember that? He's on the bed with the picture frame.
Yeah, and he's always looking at a picture frame, and people like.
Yeah. They had the Hellfire Club in here. They had the Shi'ar Empire. You found out about Cyclops' dad. Yeah, I'm like going through the list.
Starjammers?
Yeah. The Starjammers. Mojo was in this. Whew.
Mojo World?
Yeah. And I'm happy the property's back with Disney, so I'm hoping whenever they decide to introduce them that they do it justice. Like, I'm a fan of the movies, not the Bryan Singer ones, maybe some of them. But
X-Men 2.
But the animated series to me will always be my like definitive X-Men like period for me.
And maybe they'll take note that just because it's in bright color costume doesn't mean it can't be taken seriously. because like maybe that was a slight thing about the live action movies that they felt like, oh, let's give them all like black leather costumes, and then we'll take them more seriously.
No reason.
To be fair,
now hear me out.
I think they were following. Well, you got to think of it though. Like they're following like what was popular at the time, and like
sure.
I think it wasn't until MCU came along that they showed, hey, it's okay to make costumes like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look at the Iron Man suits.
Yeah.
Red and red and yellow, or look at Thor, like kind of having a flamboyant outfit, but
it looks cool.
The most badass out of all of them. So, but that's why I'm hoping like the MCU will now like take note and like feel like they don't have to make it. They don't have to make it like try too hard to make it gritty. Have the superhero costumes, but if you set the right tone, have the right actors, have the right scripts, you can hopefully you could have something like the X-Men animated series.
And don't leave Morph behind.
Oh yes, and give highlights to like characters like I'd like to see more of. Like I'd love Bishop in the MCU. See what Bishop could do.
Ooh.
Right, because they didn't really do much of him with Days of Future Past, right?
Yeah, he had that 4-episode arc, and that was it. But then just thinking about the series, the only thing is the downside to the series was the last few episodes were never meant to happen. So if you watch them, it has a totally different style of animation. It's because Fox Kids was like, no, make more. And like the style is so bad. Like the last episode was like Professor X was taken to space or something like that. Like it was pretty bad.
For what? I'm back in space because I'm in a chair.
I could be wrong, but I'm sure it's like Lilandra took him to space. Yeah, because he was like, he needed treatment or something like that. But yeah.
There's no reason to even show that. Warren McTaggart can help him on Earth. Like
Moira Charles? Yeah. Dude, the episode where you find out that Juggernaut was Charles' stepbrother was pretty sad because you could see him being bullied as a kid. And you saw like
shock.
Do you remember that when like Juggernaut was like about to die and like Charles was like in Juggernaut's head and he was like reliving childhood things? He was like, I was telling that girl that you liked why you were weird, that's why she stayed away from you or something like that. Mm-hmm. And you could tell Charles was like, screw it, just kill this guy already. It's pretty dark.
Yeah, I know.
But Kane, that was a lot of people's first introduction to Juggernaut, and he had some lines. Like they did a good way of explaining how they did good to explain people about Kane Marco, not just him as the avatar of Sidorak.
And he was one of my favorites. That's why when the gladiator threw him in that episode, I was like, no.
Yeah, they had to show off Gladiator somehow because remember, a lot of these episodes are 70s, 60s, and 70s storylines.
Right.
The Phoenix Saga came out in the comics in the 70s, so a lot of kids were too young to read that, so they just took that and put it in the cartoon.
That's right, the Phoenix Saga. Like
that happened in the 70s, dude.
Oh, it did?
60s, 70s, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they did it in the show too. Like, there's so many, so many storylines they did.
Cable's return was 90s, or the whole Cable arc.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He looks very 90s.
Yeah. He's a quintessential 90s American comic character.
But I didn't mean to like rant on the show. It's just I have very fond memories of the show.
It's important to rant on that.
Oh yeah, sorry.
This is number one. Yeah.
I
see why this is number one.
The first, you'll like this one, Fun Guy, because he's your favorite. The first action figure I ever got, from the series, was Juggernaut and Magneto. And Juggernaut had like this dope like battering ram thing that he attached on his body. Yeah, it was cool.
Mm-hmm. He also had one of the best lines in the show.
Why is it?
Remember Colossus threw a tank at him, and he goes, "Tank you," and just punches it back.
Oh yeah, then he's like, I wonder if he's recyclable. Yeah.
Yep. And he throws calls Wolverine short stuff. Like, come on, man. Jugs just gave, and he's not a mutant. He gave no Fs.
So thinking about that, I think that was the first episode I saw because my older brother was watching it, and I just remember seeing Colossus throw a tank, Juggernaut throws a bus, and it's like back and forth, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on?
Throw stuff.
Yeah.
He punched the tank back at him and said, "Thank you."
Did the show? I know it's an animated series, but did the cartoon delve into Magneto's past, like with
I think so. Yes.
Yes, but they also dive into Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, finding out
they did. Yeah,
they
did.
Oh, really? So, wow.
Because they're not really his kids. They're actually. I'm not gonna. Whoever knows, they know, and whoever doesn't, can just Google it.
Okay, I'll give it a watch.
Disney Plus. That.
Yeah.
Disney
No.
Is it on Disney Plus now?
I mean, hopefully. I believe.
So. Oh, it is.
Yeah, they have like all the I think aren't the Spider-Man shows on it as
even
well.
the 70s or 80s ones are on there. Yeah,
it's on Disney Plus now.
Yeah, and I think the Spider-Man
song?
animated show did a crossover with X-Men.
Yes.
That's
just like it did in the comic book.
Deal.
If
Spider-Man just went in the danger room, and
if or when we do another one of these, that Spider-Man series had a lot of crossovers. It was the MCU before the MCU.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's see if I can exit out of this and get our mugs back on there. Let's see.
The mugs.
Someone say mug. I'm not very sure.
Trevor says favorite X-Men. I would say
favorite X-Men from the show or favorite X-Men period.
X-Men probably Beast.
Good choice.
Yeah. It used to be Cyclops. I'd say Beast.
Yeah, I can only say live action, and if I was going by live action, Magneto, specifically Michael Fassbender's Magneto.
Damn. Speaking of Michael Fassbender, go. Who's yours? Fun guy. I think I know who Fun Guys is.
Are we talking about X-Men the TV show?
Just your favorite X-Men team member, and then any character from the X-Men series.
Prodigy's up there. Prodigy is up there.
Prodigy.
Yes. With or without his powers, he's dope. If we're going with more named characters, I'll say Sebastian Shaw, Mystique. They're up there. The Hellfire Club members are up there.
Hellfire Club.
Those members, like that whole team. Toad is up there, man.
One sec. Funny you should mention Hellfire Club. We'll be right back.
I mean, people forget about Toad, but the comics or the movie.
I do want to get to know Toad more. I was kind of sad. He was, for the small part he was in the first live action X-Men movie, I actually thought he was entertaining, especially when they got Ray Park, who's like a very good stunt actor.
Right.
Like they were pretty creative with all that, and of course they had to kill him off in a lame way, but that would have been really cool.
I mean, Toad made fun of that. Ray Park owned that scene without words. He just kind of, I can do it if you want. Remember when he comes in and he kind of just dances and makes fun of him? He goes, it was the best. I rewatched that part forever. And the way he beat Magneto for the duel to run out of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Stupid name.
Oh, really?
But, because his acid spit goes through Magneto's shield, or at least it did.
That's the Fassbender one. And then
Michael Fassbender one, yeah.
For Fun Guy, this was a PulseCon exclusive last year. It is actually the Hellfire Club.
Oh.
And I think it is, who is it? We got Donald Pierce, Emma Frost, Sebastian Shaw, and Jean Grey. And then the figures
she was part of it?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, regardless of what you think about them, they have their hands in many pies.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a good setup, man.
It really is. I just wish it was Kevin Bacon, Sebastian Shaw.
Oh.
He was good. Yeah.
He was good.
7 Degrees good.
Oh.
Yeah, I really don't have any X-Men stuff. The only X-Men thing I have is based on the live action one. This is probably one of the few Funko Pops I really like.
Oh,
That's
nice.
cute.
The motorcycle.
Yeah, and then he's whipping his claw out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
It's adorable. Yeah, it's supposed to be badass, but you're right. It's a Funko Pop.
But look at his head, man. Look at the claws are out.
Yeah, you're right. Look at the beady eyes.
How is it not? Like, how is it? It looks cool, but how is it not adorable as well?
Yeah, true that.
All right. Well, I know I saw a fun guy taking a little yawn there. So
I did.
we shall sign out of here. I mean, this was fun. I mean, obviously we'll revisit again. We'll have to get. Hold on. This was how he listed it earlier. SWAT Cats.
Let me see. SWAT Cats, Roughnecks, Dragon Ball Z. The reason I didn't pick any anime because my whole list would have been anime.
Right. And I was like, maybe we can revisit that next time. We'll do our top 3 animes.
There's a lot of 90s anime that was brought to America.
Dylon.
Who are the 5 greatest cartoon series of all time? Dylon. Think about it. Dylon, and Dylon.
Why? Because you spit out.
Spit out fire.
All right, so I think that should be the next one. We'll go over our top 3 anime.
And I'll pick no American TV series. It'll all be translated
top 3
anime. Dubbed anime in America.
Well, so I guess we could change the criteria to just 90s if you'd like.
Yeah, but just 90s, that changes.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to. I mean, if you got a group of people that can,
Right, we'll just do top 3 animes in general then. Well,
ooh, holy crap!
Is that a
movies, TV series, anything?
That's a lot, man.
Top 3.
Because I admit I got into anime really late.
Well, that's fine. But here's the thing: you'll know what mine is right off the bat. I mean,
I know one of them.
Which one?
I don't. I was going to say here.
I think I know one of them.
A Pikachu.
I won't say it.
Pokemon. The Pokemon.
What's funny is I surprisingly wasn't thinking about that.
You're thinking Digimon, weren't you?
No.
I was about to say not Dragon Ball, not Hero Academia. Where's he at? I gotta forget about Pokemon.
Digimon either.
I
thought you were going to say
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon was fire, dude.
It's a good show. It's a good show.
I didn't get into it, but
Tuxedo Mask.
So
I did remember.
Go ahead. You do remember what the Sailor Moon outfits and the.
No, I remember Tuxedo Mask. So that was
Dun, 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 dun.
I think I almost thought about an interesting Halloween costume, but
wrong song.
No.
Well, the good news is you'll have a week to think of it. Well,
where do I get a tuxedo? Men's Warehouse?
We'll see. We'll see if we can have somebody else join us too that's also in anime or anime.
They'll do it. Anime.
Top 3. All right, I'll leave it at this then before we sign off. Just know that one of mine is one you probably aren't. You probably heard. One of you might have heard of this, but it's Serial.
Zoids?
No. Serial Experiments Lane.
Ooh.
So I'm
a man of culture.
Carson Daly.
Man of culture.
We're gonna sign out here from Carson Daly.
Good man.
Albie and a fun guy. Thanks for joining us.